Hi everyone, welcome to my A-level biology lecture series. In this lesson, we will explore sex linkage, or commonly known as X linkage. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to interpret and construct genetic diagram, including Punnett square, to explain and predict the results of monohybrid crosses that involve sex linkage. Let's get started. Sex linkage. In mammal, birds, and many insects, the gene responsible for sex determinations are located on the sex chromosome. In most species, one sex has a pair of identical sex chromosomes, so all of its gametes carry the same sex chromosome. And the other sex have two different sets of chromosomes. And therefore, they will produce two types of gamete, each with a different sex chromosome. For example, in humans and other mammals, female with two identical X chromosome, and they produce the gametes or carry an X chromosome. However, as a male with XY sex chromosome, one X and one Y chromosome, half of their sperm carry an X chromosome and another 50% or another half carry a Y chromosome. So the Y chromosome is much smaller compared to the X chromosome and contains fewer active genes. Let us look at this diagram to show you the length of the X chromosome and also Y chromosome. On the left-hand side, it is an X chromosome, and the right-hand side, the smaller one, which is a Y chromosome. The X and Y chromosome are not truly homologous, as they differ significantly in terms of their length, their shape, and the gene content. Basically, Y chromosome is shorter and contain less active gene. However, during meiosis, the Y chromosome contains a very short homologous region at its tips, and this allowed it to pair with the X chromosome and undergo crossing over to ensure a proper segregation as well during gamete formation or gametogenesis. So during gametogenesis, all normal egg cells contain single X chromosome, and sperm will have two types of chromosome. 50% carry X chromosome, and another 50% carry a Y chromosome. So at fertilization, an egg fertilized by X-bearing sperm will result in the double X or XX zygote, which results in the formation of female zygote. However, an egg fertilized by a Y-bearing sperm results in an XY zygote, which form a male individual. So this mechanism ensures a roughly 1-to-1 sex ratio in the offspring. The X chromosome in humans carry many essential genes required by both male and female. So this kind of gene that only located or can be found on the X chromosome only are referred to the X-linked genes. So in terms of inheritance patterns, female XX will inherit one X chromosome from each parent. However, for male will inherit the Y chromosome from their father. Y chromosome must come from the father, and X chromosome along with all those X-linked genes from their mother. Because male have one X chromosome only, they are known, or they are said to be hemizygous for X-linked gene. So every allele on the X chromosome will be expressed regardless of the dominant or recessive if this gene is an X-linked gene. Why? Because you can see that Y chromosome being shorter, they don't have the another allele to pair with the X-linked gene allele. So therefore, male are not described as homozygous or heterozygous for X-linked trait. As a result, recessive X-linked allele are more likely to be expressed in male compared to the female. Why? Because for male, one copy of X-linked allele will be expressed, and it may cause some of these X-linked genetic disorders, such as hemophilia, as well as the red-green color blindness. So female with one normal dominant allele and one recessive mutant allele on their X chromosome, these are known as allele carrier. However, in terms of the phenotype, they are not carrier like what we have learned in the co-dominants. Why? Because if you check their phenotype, they are normal, right? No different from those with two copies of dominant allele. So allele carriers are usually phenotypically normal, but they can pass this defective allele to their children. So a recessive X-linked disorder is expressed in female only when the defective allele is inherited from both parents. So means that a female with hemophilia must have a hemophilic father and a mother who is either heterozygous or homozygous recessive. So let us look at X-linked inheritance pattern of hemophilia. Hemophilia is an X-linked recessive disorder in which the blood fails to clot normally due to the lack of the factor VIII, which is a protein essential for blood clot formation. So in this case, the disease is caused by the recessive allele, where this allele is a mutant allele which cannot produce a functional factor VIII, or they can't produce factor VIII at all. So it's caused by recessive allele on the X chromosome, and the dominant allele code for functional factor VIII protein, and the Y chromosome does not carry this gene. So therefore, factor VIII gene is an X-linked gene. So you can see that in this diagram, okay, factor VIII is located on the X chromosome only, but not Y chromosome. So male definitely cannot be a carrier and will express disorder if they inherit recessive allele. So for male, XY, Y without any allele, so totally depends on the X chromosome, whether they carry dominant allele or recessive allele. So it's either will be normal, means with the dominant allele, or as a hemophilic male with a recessive allele on the X chromosome. So let us start with this allele notation. So we have, because this is the sex link, we must include the X and Y chromosome. So capital H denotes capital H with the X chromosome, or we say the X with the superscript of H indicates the dominant allele for normal clothing factor VIII on X chromosome. X with the superscript lowercase h equal to or represent the recessive allele for defective clotting factor VIII on the X chromosome, and Y chromosome without any allele for factor VIII, so therefore just put it as Y. So when a normal male, okay, X capital H, Y mates with the allele carrier female, okay, with heterozygous X capital H and X lowercase h, there is a 25% probability that the offspring will be a male with hemophilia. So the genotype with the X, with the small letter H and Y. So let us look at how the inheritance pattern. So normal male with the allele carrier female, both of them, they are normal in terms of their blood clots, even though female carrier allele carrier with one copy of recessive allele, the blood clotting mechanism in this female parent is still normal. So genotypes follow back the statement. So for male, normal normal dominant allele on X chromosome, but female heterozygous. So in this case, the gametes produced will be for male parent, normal H allele, dominant H allele on X chromosome, when Y chromosome without any H allele. Female parents, in this case, because of heterozygous, you can see that one copy of dominant allele on X chromosome, another 50% of gamete with recessive allele on X chromosome. So let us look at the probability. So we can see that there is a 25% chance, okay, the male offspring or the son inherits the disease, okay, which is hemophilic male in this case. So we can see that even though heterozygous, the for the female with the X capital H, X small letter h, so this male is still normal. So you won't be able to get a typical 3:1 ratio anymore. You can see that normal female to normal male to hemophilic male in ratio, probability ratio of 2:1. And you can see that the male actually gets the recessive allele from female parent rather than the male parent, because male parent will pass on the Y chromosome to the male offspring or to the son. So in this case, hemophilic male will not pass the disease to the son, because why? Hemophilic male will pass this recessive allele on the X chromosome to the daughter, but not to the son, because to the son, hemophilic male will pass the Y chromosome to the son. So the son will only get the hemophilic or this recessive allele on the X chromosome from female parents. And with that, we have come to the end of this lesson. Hope you found it helpful and easy to follow. If you have any question, feel free to drop them in the comment section. See you in the next lesson and have a great day.